Hey guys, what's going on? This is Badfish and welcome to another episode of San Pedro. If you're new to my channel, San Pedro is my current ongoing city Skylines playthrough based off the American West Coast. Welcome. So today guys, what we're going to be doing is we are back in San Pedro proper where we've been working the past few episodes, and we are going to be building ourselves a nice office park. So it's been a while since I've done an office park build. The first one I did, it was pretty good for me back in the day. That was a couple months ago. I've learned a lot since then, I like to think. But it had too many trees. I'll be honest with myself, it looked like it was lined with palm trees as like a literal palisade. So I'm trying a little bit of a different technique here, and hopefully some of my stuff I've picked up through this series kind of shines through a little bit more. But we are going to be putting this right on the tip of the coast of this kind of waterfront we've been working on. We're not putting it right on the water just because I have some other ideas of what I'd like to do with that eventually. So the buildings you're seeing me place down right now, basically my idea was trying to pick a bunch of old growth buildings. I didn't want like super sleek, super new skyscrapers. I want to save those for later on when we're doing like the downtown proper of San Pedro. We're still not quite there yet, so this is more of like an old growth. Maybe this, goes along with the fact that like it's an old wharf. This was like the old city center, and we got some of the older office buildings down through here. But I think it ends up looking pretty nice once it's all said and done. We get some good details in there. A lot of parking lots, of course, because if people are working here, they're gonna need a place to park. A lot of little seating areas and cool landscaping and stuff. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this one turned out, and I think it's definitely better than the last one, that's for sure. So we're getting to the point that we're pretty much done placing all of the buildings, and we're gonna start jumping into more of the detail work here in just a moment. Just kind of getting the last bits of parking lots in and kind of trying to rip roads through. So one thing you'll notice is I put a walkway through the center rather than a road. I wanted people to be able to walk right through this, and then the roads kind of connect separately to the different buildings. So right here you're seeing me detail the walkway. I'm just putting down these little brick decals that I picked up. I think they look really nice, and I think they add a lot to that because I just used the base like concrete walkway. I didn't want to use anything that had its own kind of look to it because I did plan out putting down the tiles beforehand, and I think that brickwork just looks nice. So now we're just painting everything in with the concrete to give it more of a uniform look. I am intentionally leaving some blank spots because I did want to do some little natural growth areas, and of course just different areas for planters and things like that. So I am just leaving a little bit of it open to interpretation, and I will fill those up pretty quickly. I think that's one of the first things I do. So just cleaning everything up, and we are going to now jump into just moving a couple more buildings around. I thought I didn't really like those separate, and I like the way they looked clipped together. And then over here, this is the only commercial building in this office park. So everything else is an actual office. This one is a commercial building just because I didn't have any other office buildings that fit the motif. And the last thing we're gonna pop in here is just a little McDonald's because people gotta eat. Even when they're working a 9 to 5, they still gotta eat, no matter what corporate America says. So now we're just filling in a little bit more with concrete and kind of delineating where I wanted those natural growth spaces to be a little bit more. And we're gonna go ahead and start fencing those in and adding in the different trees and stuff. So I'm just using the wrought iron fence like I usually do. I think it's just a nice little delineator for these natural growth spaces. It's not too eye-catching, but it still looks nice when you scroll in. For this little area, I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm not using my typical bushes and trees. I thought maybe the office park, they wanted some nicer trees in this area, so they put in this little planter with those leafy greens, and then the London plane tree, I believe it's called. And then this one is just going to be the typical stuff that I usually do for natural growth, so just the bushes and the gum trees and all that good jazz. So fill it up pretty quick and get it moving. I think it looks nice. I really have enjoyed this little bit of natural growth that we've been doing throughout San Pedro. I think they always fit well together. So now in the middle here, I wanted to make this a little prettier, so we're just gonna pop in a big old fountain right there, and we're gonna start moving in some benches around it. I wanted to make this kind of like a nice seating area right in the middle. Unfortunately, I made the mistake of putting the path right through it and then not fixing the path before I put the decals down. So people are going to be walking through this fountain, which is fun for them. You know, maybe it's just something they do to have a good time. But yeah, I wasn't going to delete all the decals and stuff that I put down just to fix that. I'm okay with a little clipping. It doesn't bother me as much. I'm usually not this far scrolled in unless I'm building. So now we're just putting down some hedges to add a little bit more of a pop to this little center area. I really just wanted this to be colorful and have lots of green space around it, and you know, the hedges definitely help. We're gonna put some flowers over here eventually as well, and more trees and stuff. And then same thing like I've been doing throughout all of San Pedro, and you're gonna see this motif going a lot, or this theme going a lot throughout this area, is these big old planters with the palm trees in them. I love having the palm trees, especially where this is a West Coast California based build. Having those big palm trees is certainly realistic. They love lining things with palm trees out there, and I just think they catch your eye really well, especially, again, like I always say, placed against the buildings. It's just nice to have the big palm trees that are almost the same height. They're having a good time. So just finishing out a little seating area over here, just gonna put some flowers down for a little extra pop of color. Nothing too crazy. You know, with the office park, there's not, you know, more detail you can do other than places for people to hang out and congregate and walk through, and like manicured areas. So that's kind of just what I was focusing on, was just making a ton of seating, ton of walking areas, ton of green space. Wanted the offices to obviously look nice, so when they have, you know, people from other companies come in or what have you, that, you know, they have a nice space to take them around in. That's kind of what I try to focus on when I do stuff like this, and somewhat symmetry as well. I enjoy building things somewhat symmetrically, so you're gonna see like I'm mirroring these trees on either side, and then I'll mirror some of the flowers and stuff. I think that's just for me, it just helps me be at ease when I see some symmetry and things. So adding another planter over here, and then you will notice these big patches of green space that I've left. So I'm going to be turning these into little parks. I'm not actually going to paint them in as park areas just because they are so tiny. It wouldn't be worth it to try to put an entrance and stuff on them. But I just wanted them to lead up to the two bigger buildings in this area and just have you know, a good green space, good little hangout, gazebo for people to go have their lunch or whatever, or just take a breather after their conference call, who knows. And then, of course, just doing my little bit of natural growth, not trying to overkill it. I know sometimes when I put down trees in parks, I can overkill it very quickly, so I'm really trying to avoid that. And we'll build out another little park over on this area right here. And same kind of deal, we're just making it small, adding one gazebo in and calling it a day, and just putting in some trees. But yeah, I think they just add a nice little break up to the concrete, nice little break up to the parking lots and stuff, and it would be a cool place to eat your lunch if you're working at one of these, you know, corporate offices over here. And I am just gonna fence them in real quick as well. So again, just going with that wrought iron fence, just boxing them in real quick, and I will go ahead and adjust that as well, just because it's looking a little wonky. So we'll go ahead and adjust it right up to the different parts of the park, and I am going to do that on the other one as well, but I did cut that, so they both get fenced in, don't worry. So now what you're going to see me doing is just making a little prop pack for myself as far as seating areas go. So just putting some benches and hedges and a light down and a couple trash cans. And I'm going to use that to just fill in some of the blank space around this little office park. So like I said, wanted a lot of seating areas. Typically, if it's like an office park like this, it's built out with kind of the same motif around it, so you can get away with having these kind of props go through and just kind of lining things with them. So that's what I did there. And then my favorite part of this little build, my favorite little detail here, is I wanted a cool little place for people to go have lunch. So I'm doing a little food truck park. So food trucks come here daily for all these people coming out of their offices. This is a good place for them to get some money during lunch hour. and we got this big old seating cafeteria, outside cafeteria kind of deal right here. So I'm just gonna spread some fences and hedges around, get the food trucks right there. So you can pop into McDonald's, you can pop into a food truck. Maybe there's cafeterias inside as well for days that it's not so nice, but I thought this would just be a nice little place for people to come grab their lunch. And these food truck assets, I'll show them off in a little more detail in the live play. They're absolutely great. There was like 15 or 16 of them in one pack, and they're all beautiful. I will definitely be using these again. So definitely check those out. You just have to go filter by props, look up food trucks, and they'll be like number 1 or number 2 on the hits. So it's the food truck prop pack. I really enjoyed it. And now, just adding a last couple little bit of details, ripping one last planter through just to keep the motif going, and that was a lot of dead space right there, so I wanted to kind of have something going on there. And we're going to finish out, as always, by putting down our decals and our lights, so we'll get into that in just a second after I put these flowers down for last little bit of pop of color right there. And here come our decals, so we're just going to start messing everything up, adding, you know, cracks and guck and all that good stuff to make it look a little bit messier. I think it adds some good detail. And we're going to just rip in through with some lamps in just a second here, guys. So that does do it for the time-lapse section here. We're going to jump into a live play in just a second. So if you've been enjoying the video so far, definitely leave a like down below and consider subscribing if you haven't already. But I'm going to let the music play out, and I will see you in the live play. Alright guys, welcome to the live play section of today's build in our little office park here. I put it right in the corner of the map, part of the map we've been working on, so I'll kind of give you context for that in just a second. But just going over what we put down as far as buildings. So I wanted this to not be like my super new, super sleek office center. I'm going to save that for the kind of more skyline downtown proper. I got some really tall skyscrapers that I want to use that are like sheer glass and a lot of steel and metal. So I used a lot more of old school buildings for this one, kind of brickwork office buildings, as well as some ones that, you know, while modern, aren't like super modern. So these two in the back here, you know, they're definitely more modern than these ones, but they don't look like they were made, you know, in the past 10 years. They were maybe built in like the 90s or 80s. So this is like my old growth office center. So we got, you know, this little building right here. I like these a lot. This is just two of the same kind of clipped together. And something you'll notice as this trash can is deciding to float. So let's move him real quick if we can. But anyway, something you'll notice kind of throughout this whole build is I am using these planters a lot. And I'm using, of course, the big palm trees that we have crisscrossing throughout San Pedro. But I have planters like these, and then we have seating areas like this that just have the hedges and the lamps coming on through. I think these ended up looking really nice. I love this hedge. I don't exactly know what pack that hedge was from, but I think it looks great. So we got these hedges kind of coming on through. And then right through the center, I have this big old walkway cutting right through the middle of this area. So I put a walking path right on through. And then I covered it up with this kind of brick tiling right here and just put in some details as far as hedges and lining it with different trees and stuff. So on this part, we have trees like this. And over here, we have, of course, like I said, the palm trees and then some flowers and stuff. And then right in the middle, as someone walks right through the fountain, we have a big, oh, another guy going straight through the fountain. I love it. I need to fix the walking path under this, but it needs to delete a lot of things. So for right now, I'm okay with people walking through it. So we got this big old fountain with the seating area right through it. And then over here, of course, more parking for the bigger buildings. And then you will see these parks as well. I just did that because a lot of bigger office buildings will have little courtyards or parks kind of leading up to them. So I just put a couple parks in front of the very big buildings. And then over on this side, again, just more seating areas right through here. And this guy is pretty fun. So I got these food truck assets off of the workshop. I think I just typed in food truck and they were like the third or second hit when you had it filtered for props. And this is a variety pack, and I was shocked with how many came with it. There was like 15 or 16 different trucks, something like that, something in that ballpark. I didn't actually count, but they're all very fun. They all got great vinyl wraps around them, and you know, they got menus and everything. They're very well done, very well done. So I put these food trucks kind of linked right around here, right by this little parking lot, and then we have this big old like place for people to come eat. So the McDonald's is over here as well, but what I'm thinking is people on their lunch break either go to McDonald's, hit up a food truck, come over here, have their lunch, and then go back to their offices, or they just come grab food and go back to their offices if that's what they're into. But I thought that was just a fun little detail to add right there, and just have you know, a little shake up to just office buildings placed throughout. But that's pretty much this whole section, this whole little part of the build. Let's go look from this angle, and I'll get some better light on them as well so we can actually see them. So I think it came out, ooh, nope, that's not what I wanted to do. I think it came out pretty good though, guys. Let me know what you think down below. Definitely leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. But before we jump into the cinematics and everything, I just want to kind of show you what we're working with the city at large. So I still need to figure out what I'm going to do with this little bit of coastline here, and that will be a later episode. But this whole side of the city is pretty much done. So we got kind of our north side of the city and the west side over here. So apparently we got a lot of crime issues. I will work on that, but I think it looks very nice. We have, of course, our theater district over here that we built out a few episodes ago that came out looking really good. We have, you know, this whole waterfront we worked on. So I think this whole section of San Pedro is looking really good. We got a whole good chunk of people. So in the next few episodes, what we're going to start kind of doing is working around over in here, building down probably the same kind of motif to around here, and then finally building in our big old downtown down this way. Originally, I had planned to continue expanding over here. I don't know if this will be a city now, or if I might just make another town over here, just because San Pedro is large and I want to start working on some other stuff. So that's the other thing. I did finish my Steam collection, so you can see all the different assets and stuff that I'm working with on Steam. I'll link that in the description below. But now that I have that done, I do have the ability to unsubscribe to all my assets and actually start a new series. So that might be coming in the future weeks. So, you know, take a look out for that. I have a good idea of what I'm going to be doing with it, but I think it'll be pretty fun. But that is today. That is the build, and that is the episode, guys. So I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like I said before, leave a like down below. If you want to see any more San Pedro, any of these builds, plus the map at large, there's a ton of stuff in there. Check out my channel, and definitely subscribe if you enjoy what you see, because I typically post like 3 to 4 times a week, and we're hitting a run right here, building out some cool stuff. So definitely check those out, guys. But enjoy the rest of your day. I'm gonna leave you with some cinematic shots of the build here that we did, and I will see you in the next episode. Have a good one.